going live, I'm pretty sure. Let's wait for YouTube to give me the go-ahead. See if I have audio and video. All right. We got a nice poll going on here this evening. All right, let's see. Yes, no. Here comes video and audio. It's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. I hope you good people are enjoying your Shabbos, your Saturday. For some of you, it's Saturday night. For some of you, it's Saturday morning or afternoon. And for some of you, it's early Sunday. Hey, Dev Coffee is here. Dev Coffee, I hope you have the weekends off. I know sometimes you, well, don't. Or that you work on the weekend. Hey, Bathy is here. How you doing? What's up? What's up? I'll tell you what's up. Things are good, thank God. We had a relative, not that I want to jinx it, we had a relatively calm Shabbos in Jerusalem. Other places were getting hit with missiles throughout the weekend, but over here, we were doing all right. Okay, we've got 2 votes. All 3 of them suck. Oh, no. I'm off this weekend, grateful for some free time. Well, hey, you know, don't get sucked into any shenanigans on this live stream. You go do your thing, but if you're here, happy to have you with us, as always. Also, I found out, hey Frankie, I found out that if I don't actually end the poll by clicking end poll, I can't see the results afterwards. So the previous one with the salty, healthy, and sweet snacks or stolen, I didn't get to see the end, but I'm pretty sure that stolen and sweet and salty were neck and neck there. So unfortunately, I couldn't figure out, do you people know what the poll actually showed? Because I don't. Frankie, how are you? How are you doing? All right, so hang on a second. There were a few comments over the weekend. MSG says, if you can bottle your scent, I would pay top dollar to smell like cabbage farts. Because, I mean, those of you who saw the post with the dude who, what was it? I said that I smelled like, hang on a second, I'll find it. He said, imagine how bad this guy smells. And I said, not to brag, but I'd venture a guess and say I smell like a rotting bag of mixed horse parts and pickled cabbage farts that have been left out in the sun. But by all means, I said, let your imagination run wild. Yes, let imagination run wild, indeed. Patel is here. Salty and healthy were around tied when I voted. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Which surprised me that more people were not sweet. It was really, really behind, like 18%. Okay, so originals so far 40, 50 now, and all 3 of them suck at 33%. The prequels. Okay, 6 votes in. We'll have to wait and see how this progresses. Star Wars is always a controversial thing. I heard that lately they have not been doing well. I mean, the TV things. I loved the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. And, I didn't see the Book of Boba Fett. I only watched an episode or 2 where the Mandalorian and Grogu were. I don't know. Burger King is delicious, says Andre Girardi. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't eat meat anymore, but when I did, Burger King, I only had the kosher Burger King, and it was good. It was a Whopper. It was just a regular burger. I didn't really get to have any of their specialty items or whatnot. Certainly not in the kosher franchise. Please, can you say my name? It's Elena. I love your vids, man. Hey, fan page, Elena. Yeah, hey, hi there, Elena. I hope you're having a great weekend and a wonderful Shabbos, wherever you are, whoever you are, Elena. I said it a few times. Paul suggested bestest pizza franchise or type. Oh, Paul suggestion. The pizza franchise or type. I actually did one time. I don't have dairy, right? I don't have dairy anymore, but at the time there was a pizza here in Jerusalem called American Pie, and it is one of the best that I've ever had up until then at the time. Radisson says free Palestine. Indeed, free Palestine from Hamas, free Palestine from terrorism, free Palestine from their oppressive religious extremist regime who grow fat on the aid money and screw over the people they are meant to govern. Thank you, Radisson, for supporting Israel and the IDF in their just war against terrorism. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, 64% with the originals. There we go. I'm in originals. Look, I'm a fanboy for the originals. I grew up with them as a boy. I remember in the early 90s, or late 80s or early 90s, we received a VHS cassette set of the 3 of them. And Return of the Jedi, yes, was my go-to when I was sick. I still don't know if I prefer Empire or Jedi, but definitely the original trilogy. What else can I say? The prequels had their moments. Duel of the Fates, is a wonderful piece of music. John Williams is amazing. But the sequel trilogy, I thought, as a fan and a screenwriter, look, it's difficult for me to judge. I never had something of mine produced, certainly not a Disney film, but oh, come on. The story, the plot, they should have done better. They could have done better. Who greenlit that? Visually, it looked awesome, but the story and the plot fell through. Now, people were saying, no, it's all trying to subvert people's expectations, and you don't understand, and this and that. And I'm like, you know what? When the lights go out, well, all I want is for you to tell me a good story. And that story of the sequel trilogy was not good. It was not a good story. And it was so fragmented. And I don't know how or what those people were thinking. Like I said, it's like, I have difficulties judging because these people, I can't, I don't know what's going on. I really don't know. The Jedi were Muslim, said Radisson. Well, that's good to know. I only love the original, says Ezra. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Hey, Anon says, hi, how it's going on there? Are you good? Any news from there? Well, missiles keep falling and interceptors keep intercepting. Occasionally something gets by and people are killed and people are hurt. People need to evacuate. It's the nature of war. Hopefully we will be able to live in peace. And like I always say, peace can be arrived at by war and bloodshed and conquering and other sides surrendering, or it can come through love and understanding and brotherhood. And hopefully it will be the latter and not the former. But that is kind of what is going on here. Darth Maul is Netanyahu. Really? Patel says, I'm always amazed at the English proficiency of Israeli people. Well, my parents are American, so it's kind of cheating, right? I'm bilingual from birth. So, but yeah, Israelis do have pretty good English. Zionist loser, says GTI chatter. You're darn right I'm a Zionist loser. I've lost so many things, but I'm thinking that I'm winning where it counts. And in places where I'm not winning, I'm working on it. But pretty early on in life, I think I figured out a few key things that I want to win at, and it's taken time, but I'm doing it, and it's lovely, and it's a process, and I don't know what will happen a few seconds from now, 5 years from now, 10 minutes from now, but for now, I give thanks to the Most High God. By the grace of God, I keep on trucking, keep on winning, not in everything. Can't have everything you want, right? You can't have everything all the time. But the things that I did set out to do, I am doing, and that is no small thing. So, yeah, I am a Zionist loser. That is true. Do you condemn IDF grading the Hamas prisoner with a knife? Chilo, if that indeed did happen, I do indeed condemn it, because that's something that should not be. Look, there is this idea of a ticking bomb, a human being who's a ticking bomb, and they had to employ different techniques of interrogation. I don't know. I really don't know. Mossad, Shabbat, IDF, police, all kinds of organizations of intelligence and counterintelligence. I'm just one simple dumbass in the Middle East. I don't know really what goes on behind closed doors. I know that there are things that might be considered illegal, and it's done on both sides. So let's not have any pretense about that. But should Israel be doing it? Likely no. But I don't know. I'm not there. If it's against the law, those people should be put to trial, and it should be, they should be, if they did it, they should be found guilty and face the consequences of their crimes. On the other hand, what if you had a person who knew where a terrorist or group of terrorists were, who were about to carry out a terrorist bombing that would kill hundreds, and only through alternative methods and techniques of interrogation could you extract that information? What are you to do? I don't know. Where is the law, and where is it bendable? Where is it breakable? It's like these are things that have to do with ethics, morality, and philosophy that I know little about as an interrogator. I know a little bit about it as far as I'm concerned. That's why I'm not in that line of work. But I do condemn the crimes that are being carried out. The thing is that this is not proper IDF doctrine, right? These are alternative methods of interrogation, and they are horrible. Torture is not okay. But I really don't know. These people are put under. I mean, by people, I mean the IDF the IDF interrogators who need to carry this out, the Shabbat interrogators, the other intelligence organizations interrogators. I don't know what they have to face. I don't know what's really on the line. Like I said, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. It's difficult for me to judge. But if you ask me, do I condemn it? Yes, I condemn it. I condemn the people who carry it out, and I condemn it. But I condemn the mere fact that such actions need to take place. What if that is the case? What if only through those alternative and horrible methods of interrogation would they be able to extract that vital piece of information? What if nothing else works? What do you do? And what is a person to do? I don't know. I really don't. All right, let's continue. LOL, wow, says Mike. Hi, Mike. A super chat came in. From a Muslim, I wish for peace. You are a good guy. Thanks, Radisson. I appreciate it. I also want peace with our neighbors, with the people around us. Ay, ay, ay. Shampoo is illegal in this guy's country. So sad. Beefsteaks. No, I actually shampoo fairly regularly, once every couple of weeks. If my scalp is itchy or dirty, I'll do it right then and there. So yeah, this is the barber's final boss, says Austin MW. You're darn right. Austin? No, yeah, Austin. We don't believe in JC, bro, says Henry. Indeed, Hebrews do not believe JC is Messiah. Joe, man, or or no second coming. He's not Lord, Savior, Son of God, living God, any of that stuff. The Badger Bailey, it's more fashionable to be free Palestine, so I just go with the flow. Well, I don't fault people who do not live here who want to go with the flow, as you say. It's something that I don't know what it's like to experience it and to see the media from the outside and what kind of things you're being fed. I don't fault people. I just wish if people do want to go with that flow, at least do your research. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's continue. Hi, brother, says Lo the Beloved. Could you explain the relationship between the Epic of Gilgamesh or Atrahasis and Genesis story of Noah? Well, I haven't studied the Epic of Gilgamesh in a very long time, so no, I can't, because I would be doing it an injustice and you a disservice. You seem like a reasonable man. I could smoke a joint with you. Radisson, thanks, man. I don't smoke anymore, but yeah, I used to love to smoke a joint. Smoking a joint is pretty good. I'm a fan, even though I don't partake any longer. All right, let's continue going down. My issue is Talmud teaches Jesus is boiling in excrement in hell. Chilo says, yes, many Christians and followers of Jesus have this thing. It comes up in every live stream. I don't believe that Jesus is boiling in excrement. Other people do. A teaching is not necessarily law. And you must remember that Talmud is where halacha, rabbinic law, is derived from. Not everything that is written there is rabbinic law. It can be a saying, it can be a teaching, it can be simply a myth or legend or any kind of something like that that's supposed to make a point. But there is no halacha, no rabbinic law that has been extracted from that teaching. That's it. Okay, let's continue. Have you done a DNA test? Eden says, no, I have not done a DNA test, actually. Your favorite Star character? I'm assuming you mean Star Wars? I mean, I'm a Han man. I love Han Solo. I really do. But, if we're talking about the trilogies. Originals at 43% with 61 votes. All three of them suck at 34%. Yeah, I would expect that before I would expect the sequels or prequels to be on there. The prequels with 19 and the sequels with 3%. I wouldn't expect anything less. But yeah, definitely Han Solo is the man. It's a shame that they killed him off like that. Is Judaism your only topic in here, says Count Basie? No, any topic that comes up, it's just a general open Q&A. The channel was originally created as a place to discuss faith and spirituality, religion, self-development, and things of that nature. But the Q&A is wide open. I address anything and everything. Maybe not to the extent that some people would like, but I do try my best. You left off the Clone Wars show, by the way. It's the Well, no. I didn't put the TV shows, not The Mandalorian, and not The Bad Batch, and not the Clone Wars, and not all the other ones. The trilogies. I was interested in the trilogies and what the internet thinks. Do you ever watch Tal Oren? He really gets into heated arguments with people. Yeah, he's the traveling clat, right? That's Tal. If I'm not mistaken, Tal the traveling clat. I have seen his stuff every now and then. He does really great work. Really. When did you discover you were Jewish? Eden says. I was born in Israel into a Hebrew family, so pretty much from birth. Torah or Talmud? Let's put it this way. I am a man of the 5 books of Moses, but I do understand that there is an oral tradition. The thing is that the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, the scroll, was commanded to be written down. The Talmud was not commanded to be written down. The oral traditions were never meant to be written down. That was the result of exile, death, destruction, and tragedy. And so I'll go with Torah before I go with Talmud. But they are two sides of the same coin. Oral tradition, written tradition, and I am a fan also of the Karaites who go with the Torah, but not the oral Torah. I understand where they are coming from. I understand. Look, the mere fact that the most widespread Talmud is called Babylonian Talmud already should give you an idea of where these things come from. Of course, there's also the Jerusalem Talmud and many things in the Mishnah that were written down before that in Israel, and the Zohar in Israel, all of that. But as a place to derive halacha from, to go with the exile, if you will, Babylonian Talmud, I understand where they're coming from, but it wasn't the ideal. The ideal would be to have the oral traditions remain oral, but it was the lesser of two evils. It was either write it down and canonize it, right, and codify the halacha in that way, or have it all possibly be lost to history, and that would not be good either. You know what I'm saying? But if shoved into a corner, I would say Torah before Talmud. But even Talmud is a kind of Torah. But Moses was always high on mushroom. Facts, says. Well, if you're always high, you're never high. But there is definitely a debate on whether or not psychedelics were used, and I think that psychedelics were definitely used. But I'm also of the opinion that if you're going to use psychedelics, the bulk of your psychedelic experiences should come from within and not from without. And if you want to supplement your psychedelic experiences, your mind-revealing, mind-expanding experiences with let's say, right, with DMT or with LSD or with psilocybin or with MDMA or what have you, or cannabis, then do it, but don't get hooked on it psychologically or physically. Have it be a supplement. Have it be something extra and not the bulk of your experience, right? Meditation, prayer, fasting, learning, doing. That should be what expands your mind, reveals yourself to you with more clarity, with more depth. And if you want to supplement it with some sort of a substance, by all means do. But take caution, take care, respect the substance, respect the herb, respect the chemical, right? I was debating blunting with my lock tips, yay or nay. So I don't know anything about maintaining dreadlocks. I have natural freeform Nazarite dreadlocks. So I never twisted, and I never crocheted, I never blunted, I never palm rolled, I never towel rolled, I never did anything of the sort. Incidentally, what's his face just cut off his locks. What's his name? Oh, come on. Not Nation. Not Nation just cut off his dreadlocks after 10 years. So if you're into Not Nation, go check that out. Let's continue. So Talmud is like Vedas, only to be passed orally. The Talmud was written down. The Mishnah was written down. But these two things were not ever meant to be written down. That's why it's called the oral Torah. But that's what happened. That's the case. Okay, do you support settlers in the West Bank? Some of them, but some of them that are definitely illegal I do not support. So, no, I don't support them. I don't support all of them blindly. I go on a case-by-case basis. If you show me where in the West Bank, you tell me the history of the place, and I find out that it was literally stolen, literally taken over simply for security purposes, strategic purposes, I don't know what, and that it was wrong, and now they were trying to pass a law retroactively to make it legal, that I'll say no. That is not okay. That is not cool. And I say this as somebody who is not a strategic analyst and no longer a soldier either, just as a regular dude looking at a situation, case-by-case basis. That's what I'm saying. So I support some of them, but I don't support others. And if it's illegal, then it's illegal. And to make a law retroactively and to make it legal, right? Speaking of Star Wars, I'll make it legal. You know, that's not kosher. It's not kosher. But I'm thinking only in my own small dumbass mind. I don't know what goes on. All right, let's continue. Why does your hair clump like that, but a woman with long hair has free-flowing hair, bespoke Joe? Well, presumably a woman would be combing and brushing her hair. I don't do that. That's why it clumps together. Lo, the Beloved says, how do Jews reconcile the story of Noah being replicated in Epic of Gilgamesh, which predates Genesis? Well, Jews. I don't know what Jews say. I know what I say, and that's that the story of Genesis, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't mean it's not a book of history. It's a book of stories, right? I mean, you can have some history thrown in there, but the bulk of it is not history. The bulk of it is to be a Hebrew man, right? The commandments and the covenant, and this has to do with the story of creation. And there's the great, there's the Rashi, right? Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki in the beginning brings the opinion of Rabbi Yitzchak. Why didn't the Torah start with the first commandment? Why did it start with Genesis? Right? And he brings an explanation there. The point is that I'm trying to make here is that these things have been passed down. These are old stories that were written down later. And sure, the fact that the Epic of Gilgamesh was written and has a similar story, I have no problem with that. It doesn't make either one of them false. It means here is a story that has an archetypal element to it, that has weight, right, for all creation at any given moment, right? The flood is coming, build an ark, be a good person, save yourself and the rest of humanity along with you when you are righteous. That's the basis of what that means, right? The flood is always coming. Be prepared. Do you speak Hebrew or any Semitic languages? Yes, I do. I speak Hebrew fluently. and I read Eretz Yisrael Aramaic pretty fluently, but I don't write it or speak it fluently, but I read it pretty well. Can you be my Jewish guru, my juru, says Levi Rain. No, I'm not a teacher, not a master, not a guru, not a rabbi, not a scholar, not an educated or learned man in any way. I'm just a simple dumbass in the Middle East. I am always and ever a student, a learner. So no, I cannot be your guru, unfortunately. Does the clumped hair, says Arjbet, not feel uncomfortable, or how do you live with it? Well, I mean, the last time I combed my hair was 15 years ago. The Nazarite simply grows his or her hair out like that. It's never bothered me, really. I live with it as you live with your hair, whatever hair you have. It's that simple. Oh, I have Turkish apple tea this evening. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nihye b'dvaro. Oh, that's the stuff. Okay, let's continue. Do you wash? Yes, I do. I shampoo and condition. I shampoo once every couple of weeks. I condition every 4 to 6 weeks, or maybe less than that, depending on how my hair is feeling. But yes, I do that regularly. Is there discrimination among Druze and Arab and African in Israel? None of them in the government. Well, look, Saber, Cotter. Look, people as individuals discriminate. In-group, out-group, tribalism, that all exists. Some amount of racism individually with people exists. Some amount of preference, some amount of, these are my people, these are not my people, exists. And that's true to every civilization, pretty much. But discrimination, there is what you would consider perhaps discrimination, not against Druze necessarily, because, I mean, the thing is this, I'm not a Druze, I'm not an Arab, I'm not an African. So I'm not the one to ask, but I will say that this is, as a state of Israel, it seeks to be a Jewish democratic state, meaning that there's a Jewish element and there's a democratic element. Some part of that Jewish could be theocratic just a little bit. The democratic is democratic a little bit. And it's a mishmash, right, of things from the British Mandate and of older rules and of Hebrew rules from the Torah. It's all lumped together. Is there discrimination? Let's put it this way. The anthem, right, the national anthem is Hatikva, which is the second and third verse of the poem Hatikva by Naftali Hember. Yes, Naftali. And over there, Zion is mentioned, Jerusalem is mentioned. Arabs, right, or Druze or African, don't necessarily feel connected to that national anthem. Is it discriminatory? They might say yes. The anthem should be all-encompassing and something that every civilian and citizen of the state or resident of Israel should be able to connect with. But it's the home of the Jewish people. Not only, but it's the home of the Jewish people at this time. And we have about 2 million Arab Israelis living here within us. And some may say there's discrimination. Definitely in the past there was discrimination. I will say that over the years it has mellowed. I mean, some people will disagree, of course. I have not been on the receiving end of such discrimination because I'm not Arab or Druze or African. So I can't tell you precisely where it shows up. Does it show up? Likely. Is it part of the law? Likely not. But in certain things where the element of the Jewish element is more present than the democratic element, you see, that's where it might be considered discrimination. Is it discrimination? I take it on a case-by-case basis. So if there's an Arab or a Druze or an African who comes to me and says, hey, Jonathan, this and this and this is where I feel discriminated against, I'll say, okay, let's check that out, and then I'll be able to have an opinion on that specific set of circumstances. But by and large, Israel tries to be a Jewish and a democratic state, and some say that it's neither this nor that, and some say that it's doing a good idea, that it's doing well in the act of balancing both. A lot of balls in the air with this juggling act called State of Israel. All right, let's continue. Let's go to the poll. 190 votes, 43 the originals, 38% say all three of them suck. Wow, I would not have thought that, but okay. That's why we have these polls, because we want to ask the important questions, people. Okay, let's continue. Oh, whoops, wait, the chat just jumped. Okay. Can I ask what job you do? I am a writer. That's what I do for a living. Why does the Talmud say Jesus Christ is burning in a pot of human shit? I think that it was because the Talmud was written in the 3rd century. A lot of Christianity was being more solidified then, a couple of hundred years after the death of Jesus. And they didn't want Jews to go over to Christianity, and so they attacked what they consider to be the origin of Christianity. Jesus himself, even though he was not a Christian, he lived and died a Hebrew man. That's what I'm saying. That's what I think. I don't think he's boiling in a pit of excrement, and some people disagree. Just because it says it in the Talmud, it doesn't make it so. But I'm pretty sure that if I was around at the time and I was one of the sages and I wanted to keep people away from Christianity, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I would try and put it in there that, hey, this is not good. Look at the originator of this religion. Stay away, right? Let's continue. Where do you live? In Jerusalem, Farouk. Where do you live? I stand with Israel, says Mr. Jason West. As do I, but I stand with humanity, right? And right now I'm in Israel and I stand with Israel, but I don't follow the establishment or the army or the government blindly. Israel is not innocent. Israel is not blameless. Israel is not without fault. Hey. Hopefully things will work out. Oh, man. You have a very good American accent, says Bespoke Joe. Even though you were born in Israel, did you live in America? No, I have a lot of family there. I have not lived in America. My parents were meticulous, and they were very rigid sometimes about the American accent, and I'm doing the same thing with my kids. So, yeah, they speak good English, too. Do you like Wendy's? So there was Wendy's, I think, one time, a couple of branches in Israel. I don't really recall going there. Did I ever have Wendy's? I don't think so. But I haven't had meat in about 15 years. Oh, no, more than that. I haven't had meat in about 17 or 18 years. Yeah. How are you holding up, says Swin A7X. I'm holding up really well, thank God. Look, if I can sit here and it's midnight, right, and it's Saturday night, and I'm here with a cup of tea talking to you good people, I hope that no missile alert comes in and interrupts the live stream. But right now, thank God, it's been a relatively calm Shabbos in Jerusalem. Everything okay? Okay. Oh yeah, are you in a bunker? No, but there is a bomb shelter nearby, and if need be, I go to the bomb shelter until it's done. Have you ever been to Europe? Says KS. Yes, I lived in the Netherlands for 3 years, just outside of Amsterdam. Vegan or vegetarian? I am vegan. I've been vegan for 15 years, and I had a couple of years of being vegetarian before that. So, yeah. How do you feel about Aesop's fables? I'm a fan, Flip with Kylie. I'm a fan of those fables. It's Greek wisdom, and I don't have any faith, right? I don't learn faith from Greek wisdom. I learn wisdom from Greek wisdom. And definitely, Aesop has some really great things to say. That's for sure. Is your hairstyle a religious choice? I took a Nazarite vow, so I'd have to say yes. Yes, it is. Do you shower? Yes, I do, John Bobby. I shower regularly. I shampoo and condition regularly. So, yeah. Who's your favorite writer? Says Flip with Kyle. Let's put it this way. I mean, if you're talking about just regular mainstream reading, let's put it this way. Right now, I'm rereading the Harry Potter series. I love it. I do love it. I think it's great. But, J.K. Rowling is not my favorite writer. I love King's early work very much. Very, very much. I like Jonathan Safran Foer. I think he's really, really interesting, the way that he writes. But I'm not much of a reader. I reread things, right? I reread things, and I try to read Torah every day, but I'm assuming that's not the kind of writing you're talking about. All right, let's see. Dirty Jew, said Certified Speed. Yes, I am dirty. Yeah. Ach Yakar, says Eran Eli. Shalom, Eran. Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov. Hello, Eran. Shalom Aleichem, says Andro Tonus. Shalom Aleichem to you too. Aleichem Shalom. Okay. Let's continue. Do Jews feel superior over everyone else? Some Jews, I'm sure. I don't. There's no reason to feel superiority. Just because you're selected for a certain task, it doesn't mean that you're better or wiser or more important or greater or superior. I think that this Jewish supremacy can lead to arrogance and vanity and pride goes before a fall, as it says in Proverbs. So I'm not a fan of any kind of supremacy. I think that humans were created in the image of God, and that includes all humanity. And Jews, in that sense, are not better than anyone else. Many Jews disagree with me. That's okay. They're not me. That people have their own opinions. Was Shabtai Tzvi the Jewish Messiah, says Sean Edits. Well, we know retroactively, no, he was not. Shabtai Tzvi was famous for being a potential Messiah. Many people followed him around 600 years ago or so, but then he converted to Islam, right? And that went right off the rails. It brought a lot of turmoil into the Jewish world at the time, and that's also why Hasidism and Kabbalah got such a bad rap, ever since. But Shabtai Tzvi was not the Messiah. He was a potential Messiah, but then it went right off the rails. Let's continue. I love Jews, says Big Boot Tross. I appreciate that. It's better to love humans. Loving humans is better than loving Jews. What do you think of transgender people, said Scott Little. Well, I think that unless you're doing it for attention or as a fad, that it is very possible for you to feel like you were literally born in the wrong body. What do I think of them? I wouldn't know what it's like to deal with the weight of that on my shoulders. So I have no judgment towards transgender people. The thing is that I don't think that I ought to be forced or made to feel uncomfortable for not wanting to call someone a man if they are a biological man. On the other hand, I do believe in being polite. I do believe in having courtesy and common sense, which means that if I meet a transgender person and they ask me to call him her, right? My pronouns are she, her, maybe I would go with it. But if it was, let's say, put to a vote, or if it was something where they would say, okay, forget me, what do you think of it? Is it right? I would say, maybe not, because you're a biological male, and I don't know how I feel about it. So what do I think? I have no judgment. But I just think that when you force people to say certain things, that's a very, very slippery slope, and I don't want to get into that problem of not saying the right thing. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one thing to say things out of courtesy and out of, in public, in certain company, and you can think one thing and say another. It doesn't necessarily make you a hypocrite, right? Because it's a case-by-case basis, and every situation calls for a different set of understandings and courtesies. But what do I think of them? I think that some of them have a literal mental problem, and some of them, they say, okay, I was born in the wrong body. Here's a procedure that can help me feel more comfortable with the sexuality that I want to be associated with. So I have the option, why not go for it? That's fine. Where it breaks down for me is when they say, and you need to think that that's okay, you need to say the words I want you to say, and if you don't, then you're a bigot and you're a transphobe and and we'll make it a law. That's where it breaks down. And that's something I'm not for. Okay, let's continue. Don't you believe in 7 different sexes? Well, look, traditionally, there is, let's say, the potential, traditionally, according to halacha, it is a spectrum, right? We have male, female, tumtum, androgynos, elionit. Is it 2 more? I think you said 7. I think there are 5. Are there 5, 7? It's been a very long time since I had this on my mind. But yes, there is an allowance for some sort of spectrum. The thing is this: are you talking about how you identify? Are you talking about who you're attracted to? Are you talking about making things illegal or legal for the general public? There are so many delicate and fragile things here that I can't really wrap my head around in the general sense. So yes, there are certain allowances for a spectrum, right? But there is no, it's a dichotomy, right? Male, female. The spectrum is there, but it's the outliers who are on that spectrum. Normally, and I mean normal in the sense of mainstream, it's man and woman, male and female, right? We are a human species. We are mammalian, right? We are, what's it called? Dimorphic, right? 2. It doesn't mean that there's no allowance for any other kind of expression. I understand there's a difference between biological sex and the way that you present. There's a difference between biological sex and the attraction you have, or however it goes down. But the law, the common courtesy, the way it is in society, that's what I have some issues with sometimes. Okay, let's continue. Why do you believe Jesus is burning in hell in a lake of feces? Wow, 3 times in 34 minutes. You Christians are definitely a tenacious group. I explained it already. People in the chat, tell them what I think. Is weed legal in Israel? It is decriminalized, but not 100% legal. And there is medicinal marijuana, and from what I hear, some of the best in the world, but it is not legal. It is legal for personal use, a very small amount, something like that. I don't know, actually. But no, it's not 100% legal. Hamilton says, stop ignoring me. People, I'm not ignoring. There are over 350 people in the chat. It's going very rapidly. I can't address every single question that I get. If I miss you in the chat, it's not because I'm doing it, ignoring you or filtering you or I don't know what you. leave a comment. I address every single comment that is addressed to me. So by all means, if I miss you in the chat, it's not intentional. It's just because of the rapidness, right, and the way that it's going in the chat. Let's continue. You seem pretty cool, says Swindler. Is this your job? No, it's not my job, Noah. I mean, maybe it will be someday, but I'm a writer. That's what I do for a living. Let's continue. You have a big group today. Yes, I do, Kennedy. Yes, I do. It's Saturday. People are doing their thing. Are you a Rasta man? Asks Kevin. No, I am not a Rastafarian. Although Rastas do base some of their ways on the Hebrew Nazarite vow, they're Aital living on the kosher laws, and I'm a Nazarite. I'm a Nazarite who keeps kosher. So there are certain things where I and the Rastas are akin. What do you think or feel about fall down drunks? Asks the ironsmith. There have been 2 or 3 times in my life before I took my vow where I was fall down drunk. I don't recommend it. It's not fun. It's fun to a point, and then you fall down drunk. So what do I think of it? I think it's a sad situation to be in. I don't recommend it. That's what I think. Let's continue. What is your opinion about Indian people? Asks Sergio. Well, I work with a couple of Indian people, and I've worked in the past with a few Indian people, Indian Jews. And they were awesome. I know that Israel and India have a very close relationship as far as industry is concerned, and the Indian Prime Minister was here a few weeks ago. President or Prime Minister? Prime Minister, I think. And so, my opinion is that they're awesome. From what I hear, the culture is very amazing, right? And I know that the Hindu faith is very ancient. I've read some of the Vedas. I've read some of the Vedas, and I like it very much. My woman says, except for all the rape, the Indians are great. That's what she said.
I didn't say except for all the rape.
Oh, I'm sorry. She didn't say except for all the rape. What did you say then? Doesn't matter. Okay. Are you on semen retention? Says David Perez. No, I'm a fan of experimenting with semen retention for a time, but I'm a married man. I've been married for 23 years now. So no, but there is a lot to be said for semen retention. There's a lot to be said for ejaculating with purpose, right, and with intent. There's a lot to be said for nofap if you feel like you're masturbating too much, or if you're doing it in ways that you don't want to go by and it's becoming a habit or an addiction of some kind, then it might be something that you want to, for a time, abstain from. Like, right, no porn, no masturbation, no orgasm at all. The idea also of a tantric sort of ejaculation, where it goes, where the energy goes up instead of out through the base of the spine and up to the head, that can be very beneficial. I've never experienced that, but I know that it does exist. But no, I'm not on semen retention at this time, so no. What do you think, says Cheese, of the Palestinian conflict? Not to be mean, I just want to know. I think we need peace. That's what I think of the conflict. We need peace, we need love, we need understanding. Inverted Paradox says, what the hell did I just walk into? Hey, you know what? It's you people who decide what you walked into. Incidentally, let's go with the poll. 450 votes now, with the original at 45%. All 3 of them suck at 36%. The prequels was 15%, and the sequel only 1% more at 4%, where earlier it was 3%. So yeah, I'm really glad we all don't like the sequels, because I am of the opinion that they are not good movies. They are not good stories, and the plot is not good. Visually, they're amazing, but that's it. What the hell were they thinking with those sequels? Ugh. What kind of writing do you do? I'm a screenwriter, Spartan Warrior. Hey, strength and honor. I'm a screenwriter by trade, but I don't do it day to day. I'm a copywriter, a content writer, a blogger for companies, right? For different companies that acquire my services. That's what I do. I'm a writer. What do you think about Jesus? Already answered that. Micha, sorry, you're going to have to look at any other live stream I've done for the past few years and you'll find your answer. Or somebody in the chat, tell him what I think of Jesus and he can move on. What movies we talking about? Well, the little torpified. We're talking about the Star Wars movies. That's the poll. Do you like reggae music? Yes, I do, Kevin Mafia. I am a fan of reggae. Do you keep Shabbat? Yes, I do feed the snails. I do keep Shabbat. It's one of the covenants that I am most fond of. Most fond of Shabbat, definitely. What is the reason for dreadlocks, brethren? I'm a Nazarite. The Nazarites grow their hair. You're allowed to separate with your hands and your fingers, but I don't do that. I let it lock up and I let them Congo. So that's what I did. Okay. Ger Toshav? No, I'm not a Ger Toshav. I'm a Jew. I'm a Yid. I'm a Hebrew. Ish Ivri Anochi. Chromax, Cro-Magnon. Do you listen to Matisyahu, says Skim? Not recently, but I love his earlier work. I really do. Where are you originally from? From Israel. That's where I'm from. Grew up in Jerusalem all my life. Scorpion 1001. That's where I'm from. I'm new here, but you're so cool, not gonna lie. Thanks, Sour Nerds. Sorn Nerds. Appreciate it, man. Really, I do. Star Wars or Star Trek? Ooh, that's a good one too. I'm actually in the middle of watching Star Trek Picard. I know that it ended already, but I decided to go for it. As far as I know, I'm only in the first few episodes. I just started it this week. And I think that Star Trek Picard is like the Andor of Star Trek. Gritty and, I mean, not precisely, but with its grittiness and with its, it really, it reminds me in some ways of Andor. Let's continue. KS, what will you eat and put on the doorposts on Passover as a vegan? So I don't eat the Passover lamb, but the Passover lamb is not required now without a temple. So what I eat, whatever my woman is making that's vegan, that's what I'll eat. Favorite meal, says my fishing, falafel in a pita, or you know, in a lafa. That is my favorite thing to eat for sure. Glorio, is Shabbat Saturday? Yes, it is. Shabbat is Saturday. You need a barber, says Sean. Oh my God, I had no idea. It's a good thing you're here to tell me. How do you atone for your sins, says Corey? Through prayer and meditation, and through learning Torah, and through bettering my ways, trying to be a better person, getting up when I make a mistake, and going forward with honesty, right? Confession. That's how I atone for my sins. And you know, look, there's the day you get married, and there's the first of the new moon, and there's the holiday of atonement, Yom Kippur, there's the day of death, there are fast days throughout the year, so there are different ways to atone for your sins. You're vegan and a Jew, LOL, says Mathu3000. Yes, indeed. Are you aware that Yahweh is Baal? Judaism is rooted in Canaanite religion. It's not rooted in Canaanite religion, Jacob Cook. It's not rooted in Canaanite religion. It borrowed certain names of certain deities from the Canaanite religion. This much is true. But it's not rooted in the Canaanite religion. If it was rooted in the Canaanite religion, we would not need to wipe out the 7 nations when they were here in the land of Canaan. So, yeah. Let's continue. Is there a difference between a Jew and someone who's from Jerusalem? Well, many people in Jerusalem are not Jewish. If you could be in Star Trek, what character would you be? Wow. What character would I be in Star Trek? Oh my God. Q. I'd love to be Q. He's such a cheeky bastard. I want to be Q. That's what I want to be. Let's continue. I like both Star Wars and Star Trek, says Theo. Just a sci-fi blurred? Blurred or nerd? What did you mean? Incidentally, let's go. 544 votes. 45% like the original. 36% all of them suck. 15% like the prequels, and still the sequels at 4%. Manuel says, maybe God was born in a human body to observe us. See, that's something that the Torah says is not allowed for us to believe in. Other nations and people can believe whatever they want. The Hebrews have no God in flesh. The Hebrews have no God incarnate. There is no living God in human form. This is where we greatly differ from others who believe that God came in human form. We believe that there are revelations and messengers, right, and angels that can come in human form. Mankind was the image of God in human form, but God, him or herself, no, that is not according to the Torah. Have you seen Dexter? No, I have not. I've heard good things, actually. I have not seen Dexter. Why black Jews are less welcomed by the community, says Rightvalsorgiero4808. I don't know that black Jews are any less welcomed by the community. I know that when the ascension from Ethiopia took place, they were definitely screwed over by the government, but not necessarily by the people. The people of Israel, I think, welcomed them with open arms, as far as I know. I have no problem with black Jews. I know a few, more than a few, and they are awesome. So yeah. Let's continue. Him or her, him, her, it. These are all things, these are all human terms. They don't apply to the Most High God. Dexter is a good series, says Theo. Ayan Ind says shalom, shalom to you. What is your favorite sci-fi movie? Oh my God. Listen, Favorites change. I have all kinds of favorites, here and there. But look, Interstellar, I watched it last year. I can't believe I missed that on a big screen. If it ever is on the big screen, I'm going to have to get a ticket. Interstellar was unbelievable. Really, really, really was amazing. I loved it. I would love to see that on a big screen. Red Sun says, I'm vegan, pro-life Jew, be my friend. I am your friend, Red Sun. How awesome is this? Do you support the war? No, I support peace. War is something that is forced upon us. We are fighting a defensive war, despite what some people might say, and feel free to push back against that. I really don't care. I know what it's like here. I've lived here all my life. Okay. Jewish and Brahmin connection, can you make one? Om Shankar says, well, look, the Jews follow the one Hebrew God, the Hindus follow a polytheistic, a pantheon, let's say, of gods. So I can make a connection in the sense of, like someone said to me, that between the Jew and the Indian, there's not that big of a difference. They are both very ancient ways and very ancient paths, and there's like a hierarchy. So there are similarities, right? There's the sanctity of life. That's something that runs through the texts and the scriptures and all that. Can I make a connection? I don't know. I don't know enough about the Brahmin religion to know, oh, it connects here and here and here and here. I know that the Vedas that I've written were very instructive and very informative, so for sure. The connections are there. I'm just not the one to make them. Let's continue. One thing is certain, says William Keckley. No one will know which God is the real God or religion is right when we pass away. No, there was really if you believe in reincarnation or any religion. So, see, I don't think that my God is the real God and others are fake gods. I don't think that mine is the real faith and others are fake. I don't think in these terms of original and made up or fake or real. I just have me and my path and the Torah that was given to me, the traditions that I follow, the covenants I stick to, the commandments I try to carry out, and I don't belittle anyone else for their faith. And I don't think, oh, what, that story? Oh, that's total crap. That's religion is religion is religion. People say it's all made up. Okay, I see good things in religion. There are bad things, of course. I try not to look at them. I don't turn a blind eye. I'm aware that they are there, but I choose to focus more on the benevolent and graceful and lovely and good side of religion and of faith. Okay. Zarusi says, hello, sir. Hi there. Hello. I would like to add this to your attention, but are you a Sadducee or Pharisee, or are you the ones who believe a little bit in Christ or believe in the existence of Jesus? So I'm not a Messianic Jew, nor am I a Sadducee, nor am I completely a Pharisee. The Pharisees, I suppose, are more associated with the mainstream rabbinic Orthodox religion. I grew up modern Orthodox in Jerusalem, so I am more a Pharisee than any of the things you mentioned, but I'm not a Pharisee right now, let's say, because I took a step back from strict rabbinic law, and I'm simply doing my thing. I pick and choose everything. I'm a cherry picker, and I make no apology. That's the way that it goes. Oh, a super chat came in. Let's see what's going on there. Zarusi! Oh, okay, so there you go. Okay, wait, hang on, I gotta get back to the chat. Getting back to the chat, getting back. Okay. Why would God choose something that looks like this? Who said that God chose me? Did I say that I'm a chosen one? Negative, I did not. I don't go for that chosen one stuff. I really, really don't. I think that if you're gonna say that you're a chosen one, you need to act like a chosen one. And I don't think I act like a chosen one. That's why I don't say I'm a chosen one. And plus, like I've said before, being the chosen one is just virtue signaling if you don't actually back it up with action. And otherwise, if you're not careful, it can lead to pride and vanity and arrogance. And I'm against those things. I believe in humility. I believe humility is the key to all positive traits and all good personality attributes. So I ask you, why would God choose, if you think I'm chosen, you said it, not me, why would God choose someone who looks like me? Okay. What would it look like to act as the chosen one, says my fishing? Well, I think that we all have the image of God in which we were uniquely created. I with my own, you with your own. When you manifest and personify the image of God in which you were created in truth, in faith, in righteousness, and in fullness to the degree that it can be, then you manifest, right, that divine image. And then people can say, he was chosen, because we're all chosen for a certain thing. We all have a gift to give to the world. We all have a unique job, a mission, a task to accomplish. And when we are on that path, when we are on that way, when we are going for it, it is apparent, or it can be apparent to those who would care to look. And so you could say about a person such as that, yes, that is a chosen one. He was chosen for something, and he's going for it. He's all in. He's doing it. That is something where you could say that person has been chosen because he or she are manifesting it, actually in reality. Is marijuana legal in Israel? It is decriminalized, but not 100% legal. Paul Hoven something, I don't know, it's cut off. So yeah, it's decriminalized, but not 100% legal. Are you a Jew? Yes, I am, of the kingdom of Judah. What turned you vegan, says, oh, hi, Mark. Hi, Mark, good to see you again. I took on veganism when I took my Nazarite vow 15 years ago. Before that, I was a vegetarian. And the reason why I went vegan is because the Samson vow means that I can be not defiled. I can come near dead bodies, right? And go to funerals and go into cemeteries. I haven't done so because I try to stay away from such things. But I understood that the idea of the Nazarite vow is to sanctify life. And so since the defilement of death has nothing to do with the Samson vow, I decided to take the other side of that token, right, the other side of that coin, and go vegan. And I was going to do this, I was going to do it sooner or later. The end goal is probably raw veganism, but I still haven't figured out how to have that and to be properly nourished and have it be sustainable. Once I figure out how to be a raw vegan and keep it going and have it be sustainable and that I won't wither away to nothingness and be sick, then I'll probably go for raw veganism. But that's what turned me vegan, the Nazarite vow, even though it's not inherently part of the vow. Two things I did in addition. I didn't vow this, I just took it on. One is veganism, and one is abstaining not simply from the grape and the fruit of the grape, like the wine and vinegar of grapes, and raisins and whatnot, but also all alcohol. So I haven't had a drink in 15 years. Hey, Nati Naz, Shavua Tov, fellow Nazarite, stay strong in guarding your peace against the haters. Hey, I love the haters. I really, really do. I love them. They're awesome. There's nothing wrong with hating me. I understand why people hate me, and I'm all for it. Hate me, laugh at me, mock me, belittle me. It's all good. Get it out of your system. Get all that hatred and muck and negative energy out of your system. Maybe a vessel will be created. Maybe some emptiness will be able to form into which goodness and righteousness and benevolence and humility will be able to be poured in. So if my channel can facilitate that, and if their hatred can be aimed at me and get out of their system and something good can replace it, that would be very, very good. Brat Child says, Jewish statehood forever, what tribe are you? I am a Levite, according to my family's tradition, of the tribe of Levi. That is my tribe. But, a Jew is a Jew, an Israeli is an Israeli, a Heb is a Heb. Adam says, do you agree then that trans people then mutilate and pervert their image of God? No, I think that, look, there's the physical manifestation of the image of God in the human body, and that's true to male and female, man and woman. So in that sense, no. But if that would be the case, then I would say to pervert, I suppose, because you're going against your biology. But it's not necessarily a perversion, because I think you can have an operation and, cut off your penis and make a hole and call it a vagina, and you could take progesterone or, other sort of hormones and grow breasts, and your voice can go higher, and you could wear a dress and present as a woman. Incidentally, wearing women's clothing, if you're a man, is against the Torah or halacha, right? Both, but that's beside the point. Do I agree that it's mutilation and perversion of the image of God? Yes and no. In the physical sense, maybe. But in the sense of you being a good person and manifesting your gift to the world and accomplishing the mission that you were set and carrying out the task that you were given, that can be done no matter what body you are born in, right? So even if you had some sort of an operation, by that rationale, you could say the same thing about circumcision of males in the Hebrew faith, even though actually, according to tradition, that is the very thing that completes our image of God as Hebrew men, right, where we take off the cover from the life-bringing organ and it is able to shine, right? We remove the foreskin. But I don't agree 100% on that, no. I mean, literally, it's a perversion, let's say, of biology, because you're trying to be a biological creature that you were not born. And it's mutilating because you cut off the breasts, or you cut off the penis and the testicles, or you manipulate them in some way, right? So technically speaking, it is mutilation and perversion. As for the image of God, not necessarily, because there's the external manifestation, and then there's the internal, right, goodness of the human being. You can be a trans person and still be very good, and still be very righteous, and still be very humble, and still be very caring and kind and gentle and do good things in the world. So I care more about that than I do about other types of things which would traditionally go against the tradition. I simply care more about that. My set of values, and this is in part why I took a step back from Orthodox religion, or from strict rabbinic law, because I saw certain things in halacha that did not align with the views and the values that I was coming into in my 20s. Because by the time I was in my mid-20s, I saw some shit, and I was and I was like, no, something here is amiss. I simply don't feel right about going in this path. I need to find my own path within the Hebrew faith, within the Torah. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay, let's continue. Amir Tsarfati says, cooking time. Amir Tsarfati, is that the dude that got a chair in the face? I mean, he's done many things, but that's what I remember. That's the association. How often do you fast, my brother, says Dave Lynn. I'm struggling to do so. It's the hardest thing for me for some reason. I've recognized my sin, and I'm doing good. It's the fasting I have problems with. Well, look, we have one major fast that is a fast of jubilation. That's the holiday of atonement known as Yom Kippurim, Chag Kippurim. We have other fasts that are of exile and destruction and mourning, and those are said to later become feasts and jubilation and celebration, but not yet. And there are 4 or 5 of them, right, throughout the year. As for other types of fasts, I haven't fasted voluntarily, a fast that outside of the Hebrew calendar for a while. But let's put it this way, the veganism and the Naziriteship, I feel, are orienting me in a very good way, and it's an ideal that I always fall short of, right? It's a path that I'm always on. It's a journey that is ongoing. I'm still a fallen person. I'm still a sinner, right? Let's have no pretense about that. I'm still broken and trying to pick up the pieces of my own humanity. But definitely the Naziriteship and the veganism have created a path that I'm trying to follow in earnest, and it's a lovely thing. And to fast, another Nazirite, Harav Uri Einhorn here in Jerusalem, one of the elder Nazirites here in Jerusalem, is very, very, very much into fasting. And I think that I will get into fasting maybe later on, I don't know when, to get more into fasting regularly. But I have no tips for you because it changes from person to person. Have you ever trained in any martial arts like Krav Maga, asks Paul. Well, when I was in the army, I had very minimal Krav Maga training. When I was in yeshiva, I had a year of Tai Chi that we studied. Other than that, no, I haven't trained regularly since then. So no, I don't train in martial arts. It's highly recommended. I simply don't do it. Which is too bad, because it's a very good thing to do. I get its culture, but abandon that haircut, dog. Well, it's not a haircut. I simply let my hair. It's not culture either. It's part of the commandments of the Nazarite. Nolan Poe says genocide apologist. Wrong. I'm not an apologist, and it's not a genocide. But thanks for playing. Do you know Brother Nathaniel who converted to Christian Orthodox, and what do you think of this? Peter says, I don't know Brother Nathaniel, so I have nothing to say about it. But people convert all the time to different things, Let's continue. The hair looks great, says bored me, entertain me. Hey, I hope this is entertaining. Here, I'll entertain you all. Watch. There you go. That's some entertainment, huh? Classic. All right, let's continue. Hey, James Bong is here. I haven't done an underarm fart in a while. That's awesome. Okay. Happy early Passover. Pesach Sameach v'kasher, Jacob Zinn. It's not a genocide is all I needed to hear to know you're a scumbag. Of course I'm a scumbag. I'm an Israeli living in Jerusalem. How am I not a scumbag? Duh. Can a hairband not coexist with that commandment? No, it does. I have a hairband with me all the time. Here, you know what? Just for you. Let's put the hair up for a little bit. Hang on a sec. I'll get it all over here. There we go. There. Better? Let's continue. No, the only genocide that's going on is the terrorist organizations against the State of Israel. If the State of Israel wanted to genocide the Palestinians, they wouldn't be growing in numbers, and Israel wouldn't be giving humanitarian aid, and the war would be over in 3 days with all of them dead. That's not what happened. There is no such intent. There is no such action, so you are wrong on every single count. But it's a lot more convenient for you to say, oh, it's a genocide and those fucking, murdering pig dog Zionists. It's really convenient to say that because that excuses you of any actual involvement, research. You just go with the crowd and say, oh yeah, the Zionist pigs are genociding even though there's zero evidence of that. All right, let's continue. Bratchild, and while we're on that, Israel does do things that is not okay. I'm against that. Israel may do things that is also illegal. I'm against that. If there are people, individuals who engage in war crimes and crimes against humanity, they should be put to the trial that is awaiting them. Justice needs to be served for Israel as well as anybody else who is living here. But to call it a genocide is asinine and just being a useful idiot. So good luck with that, and good luck with your hate-filled existence. Let's continue. We have eyes, dude. We cannot unsee the genocide, says RKNR Girl 6146. Okay. Yes, zero evidence for genocide. I'm not saying, look, there have been different organizations and the Court of Justice who say, oh, it's like towing the line. Okay, fair enough. That still doesn't make it a genocide. And I think that if there was an intent, Israel would carry it out in the beginning of the war, when the world was on our side for the first 5 minutes after October 7th. There was an international, legitimate reason, and the international community was behind Israel at that time. If Israel had genocided all of the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank, the world would go, well, they brought it on themselves. Israel didn't do that. I don't know why Israel waited a few weeks to attack, to retaliate. I don't know. I'm not in the cabinet. Thank God for that. But look, I'm not excusing Israel from crimes. Israel commits crimes. Yes, this is part of the nature of war, unfortunately. You have individuals. Is it part of the Israeli intent? No. Is it part of the IDF doctrine? Generally, no. I know that there are people, and it's more than just a few incidents, right, where the doctrine has caused people to commit crimes. I am against that. I condemn that. That is not the way. But I'm not put in that situation. I was discharged a few years ago, and thank God I don't need to deal with that. I'm just a regular civilian dumbass now. So if you give me a situation and you say, look, here is proof. Here is where Israel committed a war crime. Here is where Israel committed a crime against humanity. I will say, holy shit, you are right. That is awful. That is terrible. I will stand by you and say, Israel, that is not cool. But to simply call it a genocide, that's asinine. Sorry. Okay. The coolest guy on YouTube. Hey, JP, what's up? Are you going to wait until the third temple is built to cut your hair like the law says? Or will you cut it before that? No, I'm a Samson Nazarite. The Samson Nazarite has no end. The Samson Nazariteship is to the grave. So a Nazarite for a set period of time, you can take it from 30 days onward. A Nazarite for a set period of time nowadays will keep his or her vow until, their days are filled, and after that until the temple is built. In the book of Maccabees, for instance, before the temple was purified by the Hashmonite dynasty, by the Maccabees, they were fasting, incidentally, talking about fasting, and there were Nazarites there who had fulfilled their days, but could not fulfill their vow because the temple was Hellenistic, and they needed to purify it. So I plan on going to my grave still under this vow. Whether or not the hair will survive middle age, I don't know, time will tell. But I don't plan on cutting my hair. It would be against my vow to cut the hair. Paul says, what are your thoughts on secret societies like Freemasons and the Illuminati? Do you believe they exist? How do they work? I don't know how they work because I'm not a Freemason or an Illuminati. Secret societies definitely do exist. To what extent do they have their hands in all of the global pies and all of the geopolitical nature of the world? I have no idea. I know that people say that the high-ranking people in these societies are in everything, and there's this cabal of people, like people say about the Jews, oh, they control everything. So I don't know how they work. I do believe they exist. How much of an effect, what is their influence in the world? I have no idea. I really don't know. Over 72,000 innocent Palestinians killed. The scholarly consensus is that this is genocide. Okay, fair enough. Why don't you call other things going on in the Middle East a genocide? Do you care about what's going on in Yemen? Do you care about what's going on in Sudan? Do you care about anything else that has ever happened or that is ongoing here? Or is it just because it's Jews, right? And no Jews, no news. No, sorry. I mourn and I grieve for innocent people who are actually innocent that die in war. But you cannot start a war and then cry that your civilians are killed. And you cannot, since you're Hamas, you cannot cry once you put them in the line of fire. They set up their bases, their camps, and their tunnels underneath hospitals, in mosques, in schools, in UNRWA centers, and all that shit. So no, don't give me that. It's horrible when innocent people die in war. It's also true to every single war that has ever taken place, certainly recently. So, while if there were actually 72,000 innocent Palestinians killed, that is horrible. I wish it didn't happen. Blame the leadership of Hamas. Blame the Fatah. Blame Hezbollah. Blame the Al-Aqsa Brigade. Blame the Palestinian Authority. Don't blame Israel for fighting a defensive war that it was thrust into that it did not want or start. Blame the leaders of Islam and the Arab world here, right, who rejected the partition plan. 7 armies attacked Israel that day. 6 or 7? I think it was 7. Okay? For the War of Independence. We accepted the partition plan. Guess who rejected it outright? Also, the Palestinian leadership over the years have rejected about a dozen peace agreements that were on the table. If they really wanted to save their civilians and help the poor Palestinians, they would have actually taken a deal. And don't give me that, no, why should they settle? Peace is made in such ways, step by step, bit by bit. Okay? Also, let's not forget, from 1948 till 1967, Jordan ruled the West Bank of the Jordan, Egypt ruled Gaza. They didn't establish a Palestinian state. They didn't do anything for the Palestinian people. So don't give me that. But I wish the war would end, and I wish that no more innocent people will die, not here nor there. Okay, let's continue. Forced peace isn't peace at all, DR. It's not forced. If they actually finally surrender, we will be enforcing peace. We won't be eradicating all of humanity here. And that's what some people get wrong. I think that if the IDF wanted to genocide everybody, they would have done it in 2 or 3 days. But again, people will believe whatever they want to believe. People have a bias against Israel, and I don't blame them because I don't know what their media is feeding them. Right? But I know some history. And like I say, I don't follow Israel blindly. I don't follow the government blindly. I don't follow the establishment blindly. I don't follow the army blindly. But I've lived here all of my life pretty much, and I know a thing or two as a civilian and as a soldier. All right? So I don't buy that. I simply don't. Innocent people are killed? Of course. That is horrible. But I don't think that it's Israel's fault. I point the finger of blame largely at Hamas, Fatah, Hezbollah, and the other terrorist regimes and the Palestinian Authority. Okay. Can you steelman the argument for Palestine? Yes, I can. Initially. All right? There were people here living for hundreds or thousands of years who weren't Jewish. That's a fact. These people, okay, even some of them treated the Jews properly, right, in the beginning of the 20th century. Okay? That is also a fact. I think that were it not for corrupt religious extremist leadership, we would have had peace already. But it's the leaders, okay, who are insane, warmongering, bloodthirsty thugs. Now, again, I'm not excusing the Israeli government from the bloodthirsty, warmongering people it has in its cabinet and in its Knesset. I'm not excusing that. But I'm saying, if you're going to steelman the argument for Palestine, that is it. And they could have had Palestine at any moment before 1948 and after 1948 if they would have just accepted the partition plan. And since 1948, there were about 10 or 12 different peace agreements on the table. That is the argument for Palestine. We agreed. We even agreed for some stupid reason that there is such a people. There is no such people as Palestine. That started in the 1960s or, early 20th century. Before that, there was no flag. There was never such a nation. There were never such people. There were people living here, yes, in what was the Ottoman Empire, and before that, the Crusades and Salah ad-Din and all that, sure. And there were people living here after 1948, right, who are not Jews. They deserve to continue living here in peace and in prosperity, okay, alongside the Hebrews. I have no problem with that. But if you're going to start a war, reject the UN partition plan and start a war, and you get your asses kicked, that's not the problem of Israel. So that's the steel man argument for Palestine. The Palestinian people, meaning the people who existed in what was British Mandate of Palestine, they should continue living, God willing, in peace and prosperity. But they are the ones who rejected every single peace agreement that has ever been put before them. Every single one. Okay. Palestine is far from genocide, Ramble says the population is increasing. Yes, exactly, that's what I'm saying. Now, obviously, there are innocent people who die. That is horrible. I'll continue saying that. You need a haircut? You got a Jew cap? No, I don't need a haircut and I don't have a Jew cap. The hair is my cap. Muslims, says Scarface, why you guys buying girls at age 5 and married them, you sick bastard? Well, look, I'm sure that's not all Muslims, but yeah, that happens still in the world. What are you going to do about that? What is that thing about when Jews spit on the floor or sometimes even on Christians when they see them? So I condemn that. That's a horrible way to behave. I think that's a horrible thing to do. If you're going to spit on the floor, at least wait until they're a good distance. You know, if you think you need to spit for whatever reason, wait until those people are a good distance from you. Don't spit on them. That's a human being. Don't be a dick. So yeah. Shut up, Jew, says Ragebait CN. You know, for a person who is called Ragebait, you certainly can't take it. Does Israel influence the USA? Definitely. The US influences Israel, and Israel influences the US. Does Israel... Oh, I'm sorry, I just read that one. Foreskin suckers. No, Den MC725. The foreskin is cut off and buried. That's not what the people suck. You are mistaken. There are moils who suck some blood out of the wound, right? The moil that we used 4 times did not use his mouth. And I don't think people should be using their mouth. You should use a single-use sterile apparatus, like a little surgical straw, if you will. That's what our moil used. And I'm all for that. The foreskin is buried. So we don't suck foreskins, although there was a time, I don't know, a month ago, where I was talking about if somebody deep-fried, some foreskins with some barbecue flavoring, Can we pray for Bibi, says Bernie Gers. What is the nature of the prayer? Do you pray that he will be well? Do you pray that he will get kicked out of office? Do you pray that he will go to jail? Do you pray that the trial will take place? Do you pray that he gets lobotomized? What is the nature of the prayer? OMG, that thing with the foreskin, AA says. Oh yeah, for sure. Why don't they like dogs? I think, Tammy K, that some Orthodox people don't like dogs because they are considered an unclean animal, right? What did Jules say in Pulp Fiction, right? A dog is a filthy animal. But a dog's got personality. That goes a long way. Let's continue. Do Jewish people believe in the cycle of rebirth? Well, I'm not sure what you mean, Adam J. Riley. I don't know what you mean by cycle of rebirth. If you mean reincarnation, some Jews do, others don't. That's what it is. Yiddish Jews, they are against Zionists. Why, says I.C. Park. No, some ultra-Orthodox, as they call themselves, Haredi Jews are. Most of the Haredi Jews are not against Zionism. Some Haredi Jews are because they believe that it's the spiritual that needs to come before the physical, meaning that before we arrive back at the physical state of Israel, there needs to be a clear-cut spiritual sign, let's say, manifesting physically, but still a sign, be it a new king, right, or some sort of Messiah, or be it the establishment and the creation and the foundation of a third temple, something which says, here, now, go, or a prophet that is a bona fide prophet that proves his or her prophecy, that says, yes, the Lord appeared before me and said, go back to Israel, and that other than that, anybody going en masse back to the land of Israel and establishing sovereignty and authority there is against the Torah. That's what they say. On the other hand, the flip side of that is Ezekiel and the dry bones, where it's the physical that is a precursor to the spiritual, right? Where the bodies are there and they are standing, and only then does the prophet call the wind and the spirit to enter them and animate them. So some say the spiritual comes before the physical. Others say the physical before the spiritual, and this is the crux of the argument between the anti-Zionist and Zionist Orthodox Jews. October 7th was an inside job, says Justin. Yes, people think it's an inside job. I don't have all the facts. I have no idea. Likely I will never know really what went on there. Oh, wait, a super chat came in. Did I miss it? Hang on a second. No, I didn't miss it. It was just, did I miss one of them? No, I didn't miss one of them. Okay, cool. Let's continue. Canaan is not Israel. Canaan belonged to Egypt before you scumbags stealed it with your messianic BS. Well, first of all, there was no messianic BS. The modern-day Zionists were anything but messianic. It was simply the ancestral home of the Jews. We are Jews going back to our ancestral home. As for Canaan belonging to Egypt, what's the time frame that you're talking about? Irvis, design. What do you design? Interior, exterior, clothing? So you'll have to give me the proper time frame. If you give me the time frame of thousands of years ago, I'll say, okay, cool. In that case, yes, Canaan belonged to Egypt, and then we stole it with Messianic BS when we took over after the Exodus. If you say in the last 100 years, I'll say, no, that's not correct. So you'll have to give me the time frame. Okay, let's continue. Going down, down, down. Scooty, Scoopity, Poopity, Poop. Oh, I love the name, Scoopity. Do you think that the crucifixion and resurrection was faked to make it spiritual and make people dependent? Well, I'm not a Christian. I do know that crucifixion was a thing. He wasn't the only one crucified. The Romans crucified many people. As for resurrection, also not fake. I believe people were resurrected by Elijah and by Elisha. Ascension, also not fake. Elijah ascended, Hanoch ascended. All of those things have their root in the Hebrew Bible. The thing where Christians and I differ is Jesus' divinity, where I say he is not a god and they say he is a god. As for make it faked to make people dependent, I have no idea. I know that from my only one single reading of the New Testament, I loved the Gospel, but I didn't like Acts, letters, Revelation, and anything after the Gospel because I saw how it veered away from Torah and kind of misrepresented Torah. Even in the letter to the Hebrews, where I read it and I'm like, no, that would not convince me if I was a Hebrew man at the time either. So some things were faked among all sorts of religions to make people dependent because the man-made element of organized religion and the people who want more power, more influence, more money, right, who are greedy like that, I wouldn't put it past people to fake things and say they're spiritual in order to control people, in order to get them to be dependent. Is that the case with Christianity? I have no idea. I really, really don't. What do you people think? Christians and non-Christians in the chat? Do you think that the resurrection and the crucifixion were faked? I don't know. Okay, let's continue. Why does Jews, Icy says, and Christians not accept Islam as the final revelation? I can't speak for Christians. I know that Jews don't accept anything as the final revelation because there is no final revelation. Revelation is something that is ongoing. That is why I don't accept it, and that is why the Hebrews do not accept the Quran as the final book or Muhammad as the final prophet. That's why. I can't speak for the Christians, though. Nessa, hey Nessa, good to see you again. Oh, pardon me. I hope you are doing well, he says, and staying safe. Yes, I am staying safe. God bless. It's been a lovely Shabbos. Richie says your heritage is Eastern European and Asiatic, from Asia, right? So let's put it this way, Richie. Let's say that I was a Gentile from Europe for 43 years and I converted this morning. I am now 100% part of Israel, 100% part of the tribes, 100% a Hebrew. So even if we grant that proposition and say that I have a heritage of thousands upon thousands of years of European, Christian, later on ancestry, it means absolutely dick. Because when you convert, you make a bond for life. When you convert and take on the Hebrew covenant, when you take on the yoke, the burden of Torah and commandments, you are actually part of the Hebrew people. So everything you say right now makes zero sense, personally, and zero difference, generally. Okay. Islam is fake and crap, says how about that? Well, how about that? What do you think, people? Is Islam fake and crap? That's really making a broad generalization. Interesting, says Petal. Yeah, some things are interesting indeed. Dante says, know about the thing with Israel buying red heifers from a farm in the U.S. for sacrificial purposes. Yes, the red heifer is a Torah commandment, Dante. Loved your book, by the way. I love the Divine Comedy. So the red heifers, we'll have to wait and see what goes on with that. Do I know about it? Yes, I know about it. we'll have to wait and see what goes on with it. Starfinder Web. Hey, Starfinder. Why do you believe your religion is true? I never said my religion is true. I don't believe in truth or lies. I believe this is my path. It's not truer than anything else, or any less than that. Leaving the Bible out of it entirely. Well, first of all, the Bible is one thing, religion is another. They're both kind of inextricably connected with the Hebrew faith, but I don't believe my religion is true and your religion is not. That's not the way that I operate, man. I really, really don't. I'm not here to change anybody's view. I'm not here to make a case for Judaism, not in the least. Should all religions have a theo-ethno state then? Well, let's put it this way. Should all religions have it? I have no idea. Some religions do. There are many Christian states. There are many Muslim states. What do you say about that? Right? Do you tell the Swedes to stop being Swedish? Do you tell the Japanese to stop being Japanese? So, first of all, there is no actual such thing as an ethno-state. There is no such thing. But there are things that came about in the course of history. Muslim states, Arab states, Christian states. This is the way that the world works. And there's one tiny little state that says we are a Jewish people in our Jewish homeland, our ancestral historical home that has been proven to be our home from many archaeological findings and historical fact outside of the sources of the people of Israel. And that's what that is. Okay. Hey, Tenebris is here. Hey, Tenebris. He says to Richie, the oldest archaeological site in Gaza is a Jewish synagogue, and that makes sense because Judaism in this region predates Islam and Christianity. Are they dreadlocks I see? He says, Cook and Chuk? Yes, they are. Is anti-Zionism anti-Semitic? No, not necessarily. I understand why people are anti-Zionist. Okay? In the modern day, there's biblical Zionism and modern day Zionism. They have certain things which correspond, but not that many for those who go in one or the other. I go with both. Biblical Zionism says it's part of the covenant. If you break away from God, and if you stop keeping the commandments, and if you don't keep the Sabbath of the land, right, then you'll get kicked out, and then you'll find your way back in when you repent. Modern-day Zionism has nothing to do with religion on the surface. It simply says, this is our historical home, this is where we belong, this is where we have been longing to come back to, this is where we're coming back to. So anti-Zionism in the modern sense is not necessarily anti-Semitic. But if you say the Jews, as such, have no rights whatsoever to return to their ancestral home, then that might be considered by some to be anti-Semitic because you wouldn't bar another person, another country, another society, another civilization from doing the same thing. That's when it becomes anti-Semitic, but not necessarily, because there are people who do horrible things in the name of Zionism, and there are people who consider themselves Zionists who will stop at, so no, anti-Zionism as such is not necessarily anti-Semitism. The question is then, how do you treat other people going back to their ancestral home? Do you take it? Do you leave it? Are you for it or against it? That's how I think it would be judged. Erev Tov Achi, says John Mich. Hey, John Mitch or Mich. You look like you smell terrible, says Ash Makes Movies. Hey, do you make movies? What kind of movies do you make? I am a movie maker myself, a writer. My religion is true, your religion is false, says Chris. Who are you quoting there, Chris78? No, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I am right where I belong, John. But I appreciate it, definitely. Do you trim your beard? I'm Mark. No, I don't trim my beard. My woman has asked me to do so. I did it once, just a little bit, but I have not done it since. I haven't trimmed my beard in like a decade, I think. So, no. I don't trim my beard. I let it grow wild, just like the Chaval hazman achilech lishon. It's like he says, forget about it, brother. Go to sleep. Toda. No, I'm not going to go to sleep. I really do enjoy this. I love doing it. Hebrew was supposedly rediscovered in 1945. LOL. Right? Lies? What? Due law? What are you talking about? Hebrew was always around. It was kept more liturgical and ritualistic, but it was definitely still around. Eliezer ben Yehuda, in the beginning of the 20th century, had Hebrew make a comeback, invented new words and borrowed other words and Hebrew, and koshered them, if you will, making them part of the new modern-day Hebrew. But no, Hebrew was always around. That's for sure. The thing is that not everybody spoke it. It was more relegated to the ritualistic, spiritual, religious side. Paul says, can you dive into the Ezekiel 38-39 war predicted by Ezekiel, right? What's known as Gog and Magog. Can you name all the countries that will be involved, like Persia and Turkey? What will cause the mountains of Israel to collapse? So, no, I can't. Also, the thing is this. If it's a war, it doesn't need to come to pass. There can be peace before war. All of the prophecies, including Ezekiel's, that have to do with destruction and with tragedy and with war, annihilation, eradication, mountains collapsing, people dying in the streets, all of that does not need to come to pass. We, as human beings, can make better decisions as individuals and as, nations and countries and societies and globally make better decisions. And in doing so, we can transcend all of the negativity, all of the woe, all of the sorrow, all of the tragedy, everything that is set to befall us when we fuck up. So, I can't name all of the countries nowadays. You'll have to look to the scholars, the historians, the academics, and the researchers who know what they're talking about. I am none of those things, but I do know that Gog and Magog are identified as islands, right? Or at least Magog is an island. Anyway, they are indeed nations or countries or geographical locations, but there's a dispute on where they are and who they are now. Okay. All citizens in the world don't want war, but all governments force us into war, says Nessa. There is something to that. There is something to that, where if you would ask the people, they would not necessarily do it, but the government goes for war. And that's also why I have not voted in about 20 years, and it's also why I will be voting in the next election. Because I can't just stand by and not vote, even if I think it's bullshit and that politics is a dirty game. It's gotten so bad that I need to cast my vote in the next election. Ugh, I hate it that it's come to that. Thoughts on the Dead Sea Scrolls, says DDS. I'm a fan of the Dead Sea Scrolls. There are a few interesting changes between the Torah that I know and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Some of them quite significant in the extrapolation, right? But not so significant that it would change my entire view of the Torah. Also, it is attributed heavily to the Essenes, who took their place from Jerusalem and moved to the Judean desert. The Essenes are said to be the closest thing to a congregation of Nazirites, and I feel in that way an affinity with the Essenes. There's Sarah Hayona Eisenman and her husband Hanan, who are Essene Nazirite. Well, she's a Nazirite, he is not. Who live in the States. Sarah Hayona Eisenman is an Essene Nazirite, and she is awesome. She is raw and in your face. She's not your typical Nazirite, but I had a dialogue with her, which I think YouTube deleted when my old channel was deleted. He does look like a crack smoker, says Anthony. Nope, never smoked crack. I don't plan on doing it. I hear it's really great, but highly addictive, so I'm not going to chance it. Let's continue. How do you sleep with your hair? Wear a bonnet? No, I just let it go. I just sleep with it. That's it. Who are you voting for? Pikachu asks. Well, color me surprised Pikachu face. I'll have to see who. I don't know who I'm voting for. I know that somebody needs to replace Netanyahu. He needs to go. He had his time. He needs to be replaced. I don't know who. I don't know who the alternative is, who will be running, the parties, the platforms. I'll read it. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But I have no idea who. Do Jews don't cut their hairs? No, Jews cut their hair regularly. Nazirites do not cut their hair. So I don't know who I'm voting for, and I won't be cutting my hair. Yeah. Wendell says, get the likes up. Thanks, I appreciate it. Favorite Marvel character, says KS. Oh, wow. Favorite Marvel character. Look, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen enough. Remind me. Is X-Men Marvel? No. X-Men is DC? I don't recall. I love Wolverine. No, he's not a Marvel. He's Marvel? He's not Marvel? I don't know. I like Thor. I really, really do. Thor is awesome. But I guess... No. I guess I'd have to go with one of the Guardians. Who would I go with? I think Quill. I think Quill's pretty awesome. Peter Quill, Star-Lord. Can you tell us about how to follow the Zohar in a practical way, says For Real YL22. Well, the Zohar, you don't base halacha on the Zohar. The Zohar is teachings that were not codified into rabbinic law. So the Zohar is not something that you follow in a rabbinic law halachic sense. Halacha is specifically not derived from the Zohar. As for how to follow the Zohar, talk to a Kabbalist. Not to me. I'm not a Kabbalist. I am a student of the Tree of Life, but I am not a Kabbalist or a teacher, so I can't tell you about how to follow the Zohar in a practical way, because that changes from one individual to the next. The Zohar is not entirely unique, but somewhat unique in the sense that the level that you are at spiritually, when you read the Zohar, you get from it what it projects into you, right, from the text, on your level. Meaning a Kabbalist could read it and understand one thing, and a layman could read it and understand another thing, even though they are both reading the exact same text. So you'd have to study with a proper master, and you'd have to study more than that with a master who knows you, right, and who knows how to instruct you. And it's also why halacha is not derived from the Zohar, because it has to do with practicalities in the sense of prayer and meditation. It has to do in the sense of the personification of the image of God in the human being, the 10 sefirot as they relate to the different organs and all of that, sure. The study of the relationships between the different divine attributes is the study of the body and the mind and the psyche and the soul and all of that. So in that sense, the Zohar can teach you practically about yourself, your inner world and the world around you. But as for following it, in a halachic, rabbinic way, as far as commandments are concerned, halacha is not derived from the Zohar. If you want to follow the Zohar in a practical way, talk to a kosher Kabbalist. Find a proper master. X-Men is Marvel. Okay, good to know. What do you mean, student of the Tree of Life? Immortal Mecha asks, I mean that I've studied Kabbalah ever since I'm 16. That's what I call, right? The Kabbalah is the study of the Tree of Life. That's what it is, of the 10 Sefirot. And I've been a student of the 10 Sefirot ever since I'm 16. So I consider myself always a student. And I always consider myself still, after many years, to be studying the introductions of introductions to introductions. That's always what I say, and it's always truly what I feel. That no matter how much I immerse myself in these teachings, I'm always just barely scratching the surface, because the depth and breadth of this wisdom is truly mind-bogglingly, like, infinite. Also, the thing is that all of the Kabbalah that has ever been written down is not the true hidden Kabbalah. It's there in plain sight. The real hidden stuff gets passed down still orally from master to apprentice, from rabbi to disciple, from, father to son, mother to daughter, and so on and so forth. Speak about the Tree of Life and what it means to you, Mark my word. Hey, Mark my words, good to see you. The Tree of Life is the image of God. And so, let's say if you read Tomer Dvorah, right? If you read Tomer Dvorah by the Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the Ramak, he is able to give you ways of behaving and attributes to acquire and things to avoid in order for you to personify the 13 attributes of mercy associated with the Tree of Life. It's a way of being in the world. It's a way of understanding how your body and mind work together. It's a way of understanding when you're performing certain commandments and reading certain parts of the Torah, how it relates to you as a human being made in the image of God. Pardon me. So, to be a student of the Tree of Life means to engage in understanding the relationship between creation and creator, between the divine revelation outside and inside. And that's what it is. It teaches you a lot about the world around you and about the Torah and about the inner workings of the human being made in the image of God. Okay, let's continue. Long Rod, hey? All right, I'll take your word for it. Long Rod says, why do Hasidic people not keep pets in their homes? Because traditionally, most of the mainstream pets are unclean animals, and so they do not keep them. That's why. They played the long game, says Devon Freeman. Well, I don't know what he said before. Oh, it all makes sense now, but I don't know what you said before. What did he say before? Epstein was or was not a Jew, part of your Mossad. Mossad is not Mossad. Mossad means foundation. Mossad means institution. Those are two different things. Can I become a Jew? Yes, you can. Conversion is a thing. You can become a Jew if you wish. The Tzept says, so can you be a Nazarite and bald at the same time? Yes. You don't have to grow hair to be a Nazarite. All the Torah says is, if you do have hair growing on the top of your head, let it grow wild. I can't wrap my head around these crazy hair rules. If you cut your hair, are you cucked out? Does the amount of hair you have relate to your faith? So the Nazarite vow is part of the Hebrew faith, and so to those who take on the Nazarite vow. In that sense, yes. But you can be bald and a Nazarite. The thing is that you're not supposed to cut your hair, you're not supposed to shave your hair, you're not supposed to rip out your hair intentionally, you're not supposed to comb your hair, brush your hair, or manipulate it with any kind of tool. You can separate with your fingers and with your hands. Some Nazarites that I know actually do that. They don't let their hair lock up like I did. So they're not crazy hair rules. It says gadel pera se'ar rosho. The hair on his head should grow wild. That's what it means. That's what it says. That's all it is. Were you an IDF soldier? Asem says. Yes, I was. For about 20 years, I had mandatory service, and then about 16 years of reserve duty that I went to almost every year. Sometimes a month, sometimes 2 months, sometimes a couple of weeks, depending on what they needed. I was a field medic in the Armored Corps. That's what I did. And I treated Israelis, and I treated Eritreans, and I treated Arabs, Muslims, I treated security prisoners, I treated my fellow men and women in uniform, old people, young people, sick people, wounded people. I treated all types of people in my time in the army. Hair grows wild naturally. That's exactly the case. Let the hair grow wild and don't cut it. Exactly that. Were you raised Haredi or Dati Leumi? I was raised Dati Leumi. I was raised modern Orthodox in Jerusalem, Dati Leumi, and I still consider that to be my home, though I don't have a rabbi and I don't follow strict halacha any longer. There are certain things where I do keep strict halacha. I simply pick and choose from everything, and I make no apology. I am a cherry picker. Greetings from Uganda, Africa, bro, says Image Church. Interestingly, Uganda was one of the places that were offered to the Jews as a substitute for Israel. But in the first half of the 20th century, Israel said no. Or was I'm sorry, the latter half of the 19th century, I think, and Israel said no. So yeah, I was raised Dati Leumi. Greetings to you in Africa, in Uganda. Your thoughts on Merkava, says MM. Well, what do you mean? There are different types of Merkavot. So I'm not sure what you mean. Can you give me for instance, can you give me a case, a set of circumstances, an idea, a philosophy, a teaching, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. How long have you been a Netzura? I'm not a Netzura. Netzura means kept. That's what Netzura means in Hebrew, Long Rod. Nazarite in Hebrew is Nazir, male, or Nazira, female. Nazirim, plural. So I'm a Nazir. I've been a Nazir for 15 years now. 15 years. Doctors and artists, every Israeli soldier is always a doctor, says Nitro Sfera. I'm not a doctor. I've helped doctors and paramedics, but I'm not a doctor. I'm just a field medic. I've been a field medic, in the field, and I've been an infirmary medic, and I had more connection with doctors when I was working with patients as opposed to the wounded. But yeah. Let's continue. Please give me tips on how to learn Hebrew, AA says. I have no tips because I never had to learn it. I hear that it's really, really, really difficult for most people to learn Hebrew. The thing is this. There is one person on YouTube, right, James Larisha, the radical Torah supremacist. I don't know if he's still around, but he was incarcerated for stabbing a guy for like 5 or 6 years, and he learned Hebrew while in prison. So I'm not telling you go to prison to learn Hebrew, but I'm saying if you happen to be in prison for a long time, hey, there's a project you can take on. He has very good Hebrew, but he got to it because he had all the time in the world in his cell to learn Hebrew. And he was, I wouldn't recommend going to prison just to learn a language, But I have no tips, unfortunately. You will have to talk to people who actually learned Hebrew. I did not learn Hebrew. I spoke it pretty much from birth. Not from birth, but I've been hearing it from birth. BPC says religion is just dividing people and causing discrimination and hate. It's not just dividing people and causing discrimination and hate. It is also dividing people and causing discrimination and hate. This much is correct. And that's a horrible, terrible thing. However, and it's 100% true. But it's not only that, and that's what I take issue with. Religion is also a path, a way, a discipline, right? And that is a good thing. Nor generally making a broad generalization here. To take on the yoke of a discipline is a good thing, especially if you're young. And to take on the burden, right, of, in this case, right, in my case, of Torah and commandments can be a very amazing thing. If you let it can corrupt you. If you give in to the hate, right, speaking of Star Wars and the Sith, then it can corrupt you. But it all depends on the lens through which you view religion, the lens through which you view the texts, the lens through which you view we have nature and nurture. They both affect us greatly. So it all depends on how you choose to look at it. And this is partly why in my mid-20s I took a step back from organized religion and organized myself a little differently. 1,100 votes or so on the Star Wars trilogy. 45% of you, all right? That's about 500 people who like the originals. Right on. 34% of you said all of them suck. I did not think it would be a third. A third! Think that all of them suck. Ay, ay, ay. The prequels at 17% and the sequels still holding fast at 4%. All right, all right. Mark says, religion gives people good direction and good morals. As long as the book does not cause hatred or violence to other religions, love is what we need. Amen. Love is what we need. May we know more love. May we know prosperity. May we know peace and justice and righteousness and humility. May we know all of these. Here's the thing. Yes, good directions, good morals. And if there is hatred and violence, and there is hatred and violence in the Torah, I choose not to give it my focus. I choose to say the hatred and the violence and the negativity exists in the Torah because we live in a world of good and evil. We live in a world of good and evil. After we partake of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, we live in a world of good and evil. This is the place where we were cast into. And now we have a choice to make. We have free will. It's not all predetermined. We have a choice to make. Good, evil, right? It's not always a dichotomy, but you know what I'm saying. So if your religion says there's good and there's evil, choose good, choose life, then when you look at the Bible, when you look at the Torah, you see more what not to do than what not to do. And this is also true to the 613 commandments that are actually part of the covenant, right? Where you have 365 thou shalt nots and 248 thou shalts. And so the don'ts outweigh the do's in number. So it's more what not to do, what to avoid. And when you avoid the darkness, you can invite more light into yourself by virtue of avoiding the darkness. Okay, wow, another super chat. What is righteousness? Well, technically speaking, righteousness is doing the right thing at the right time, at the right place, at the right moment, in the right way. That is righteousness, right? Righteousness is known as a tzadikut, from the verb, well, not the verb, from the noun tzedek, which means justice. So we see that there is a kind of compatibility between justice and righteousness in the Hebrew language. Somebody who is a righteous person is called a tzaddik. And we have tzedek, tzaddik being, well, it has to do with the masculine and feminine, and I won't get into it now. But righteousness for the Hebrew man, righteousness is going and following the Torah and the commandments and the covenants that we hold to. That will make you righteous. But basically, generally speaking, it means to be a good person. And I know that that can go either way, and some people do horrible things thinking that they are on the right side of history, doing the will of God, and that they are the best people ever. So there are always exceptions to the rule. I do not speak in absolutes. When I say righteousness, I mean doing the right thing at the right time, at the right place, in the right way, at the right moment, doing what's right. We always fall short of that. We will always never be we will never be able to embody that 100% because we are mortal, finite, frail, fragile creatures. The thing is that if you do fall and if you do succumb to frailty, the righteousness inside of you will say, get back up, do the right thing next time. It's like we are not judged for our failings. We are not judged for our struggles. We are not judged in the places where we screw up. More than that, we are judged where we don't pick up the burden again, where we decide to give in to that spiral of negativity and sadness and malevolence and just roll with it. The Torah says, no, you're gonna fall. You're human. What do you do after the fall? You get the hell up. You shoulder that burden again, despite things being against you, despite things being stacked, not in your favor. You do it. You do it because it's a doing Torah. It's a living Torah. So righteousness, that's what I think about that. But what is it? Upstate says, I love being preached to by a Jew. I'm not a preacher. I'm simply addressing questions. I'm not a teacher, not a preacher, not a rabbi, not a scholar. I say that all the time, and I mean it all the time. I really am just a dude. Let's continue. Goddess, God, particle in every atom, says Dark Soul Gaming. justified by scientists as the core of atom, which operating it as cosmic energy, so nature is goddess God. Yes, I'm inclined to agree. There is a revelation of God in every single atom. That is true. Fuck God, says G.I.J., you rock cult stopper. I agree. Fuck God. Let's have a unity with God. Let's have sex with the divine revelation. Let's really put ourselves into it. Exactly. Only a Sith speaks in absolutes, Justin. That's right. Right on, right on. You're my favorite trans streamer. Thanks, G.I.J. I am bi, and I'm gay, and I'm straight, right? And I'm a non-binary, I'm a transgender, and I'm a two-spirit pigeon, and I identify as an attack helicopter, as an M4 with sights. Hang on a second. Hold on a second. My kid just texted me. I need to... Oh, he wants me to leave a key. I will leave you a key, Junior. He said, say live, he told me just now, let me know live if you got my message. Yes, son, I got your message. I will leave you a key. Okay, let's continue. 72 names of God. Yes, God has many names. Josh, the Shem Ayin Bet, as it's known, is a collection of letters, right? From 3 verses, each have 72 letters. 3 of them together form the 72 names of God. You identify as a pedophile, says G.I.J. Really? What's your evidence for that? I don't think I have an attraction to children, and I don't think that I don't think so. I don't look that way at children. I like kids. I like playing with kids, just not like that. You're so funny, says Og JK. I have my moments. I have moments where I'm less funny. Let's continue. They ban Arabs out, LOL. They not good people, says Dewlaw. Low. I don't know what you mean, Dewlaw. Are you talking to me or someone else? I'm not sure. Thoughts on nihilism, says BPC. Shout out to the Big Lebowski. I don't know. I think that nihilism has its... I think that I understand why some people are nihilists. But as a Hebrew man, I think the Torah would not be for that. I think the Torah would be, no, believe in something and go for it and be all in. Don't believe in nothing, right? But I don't know enough. I haven't studied nihilism well enough to formulate a steel man or a straw man, of what nihilism is. I know that ideas have merit, but what happens when you carry it out actually de facto in reality? What are the fruits of those roots of nihilism? What does it bring into creation? What does it actually carry into the world that we live in here and now, right? Here, on the ground. What does it do? Do you see my question? All right. Ken Shomer Shabbat says skillable. Yes, I keep the Sabbath. It's one of my favorite covenants. I love Shabbat. The queen, the bride. Oh my God. Speaking of having sex with God, yeah. Have sex with Shabbos. Do you believe, says Asem, the prophet Moses bring down the Torah? Yes, I do. I believe that Moses has a very unique divine revelation that only he was privy to, and that he was a great bridge, right, between the Sfirot. That's why he's associated with the Sfira of Dat, which is the connection between the higher Sfirot and the lower Sfirot. Shabbat Shalom, says Tony. Shavua Tov to you. What do you think of Rashi? Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, he was a Frenchman, right? A French scholar living in the 11th century or the 12th century in France. He wrote a commentary on the Talmud. He wrote a commentary on the Torah, a very famous commentary on the Torah, if not the most famous one. What do I think of him? As a Pashtan, right? As a person who simply says, "Oh, hey, there's something here that is appearing in the text that needs to be ironed out." I think that he's great. There are other Pashtanim, and there are other Mefarshim, right? Other commentators and commentaries, right, on the Torah. What do I think of him? I think some of his commentary is really spot on, and I really do enjoy the way that he says sometimes, I don't know what this means. It's supposed to teach me something here, but I don't know what it is. I love that he is so humble, not to sort of make stuff up and go, oh yes, it must be this. But no, he says, no, I do not know what it teaches. I like that. Okay. Do you smoke, says Michelle? Yes, Michelle Lomner. Actually, in the past like month and a half, I don't know, with this war, I have been smoking like half a cigarette a day. I've never been a smoker. I never bought a pack of cigarettes to smoke or a bag of tobacco to roll. So I hope to stop, but I've found myself recently smoking half a cigarette in the evening to kind of take the edge off and have a few minutes to myself, and have a smoke. I used to smoke weed. I no longer smoke weed. I am a fan of marijuana, but I no longer partake. So I suppose temporarily now I am smoking like half a cigarette a day, but I should stop because I don't want it to become a habit. JP is here. What are some things that you practice that make a strong marriage? Well, first of all, far be it from me to know who says I have a strong marriage. It could be that 23 years of absolute hell. That's not the case. I think that my woman and I do have a strong marriage. We have our ups and downs. We do have times when we fight, but we always manage, thank God, to find each other after the fights. What things that I practice? Well, first of all, it's the family purity laws, where for a week, according to Torah, while the woman is menstruating, there's no physical touch. So having a week where you don't touch each other, and according to halacha now, it's 2 weeks. And I did that for a while, and then, like I said, took a step back from that, went with what Torah said and not exactly what halacha nowadays says. That has to do with the whole thing. But the point is, whether I was keeping it for 7 days or for just about 2 weeks, that's something that really makes a marriage stronger, in my opinion, avoiding physical contact for a week, and communication. That's it. Honesty, brutal honesty at times. You got to choose your moments, but brutal honesty and open communication to keep the lines of communication open. It's the same thing that I say about having a relationship with the Most High God. Just talk to God. Just speak like I'm speaking to you. Talk to yourself. Talk to Adonai, and be open and be humble, and wondrous things can happen. Those are things that I practice that would, make a strong marriage, I think. Okay, let's continue. I saw you on Grindr, it says Mac. I was on Grindr for 1 day. I don't remember when, just to see how I would fare, right? Because I met my girlfriend at 16. She became my wife at age 20. I've never dated anyone else. I was never in any other relationship, and I was curious what it would be like and and how I would be perceived. So I was on Grindr for 1 day. I didn't meet any guys. I didn't engage in any homosexual activity. But I was on Grindr for 1 day, and I was talking to people, and they were like, "Okay, so cool. So that's how that goes down." And it was right after they released this new feature on the app, apparently, where you can meet like from now to now. I don't know. I forget what it was called. I was there for like 1 day. I don't remember what it was called. So I doubt that you did see me on Grindr. But if you did, hi there, hello. So like I said, I never met any man. I didn't engage in any homosexual activity. I'm not necessarily against it. I just haven't found a guy that I was sexually attracted to. So that never happened. But I was on there once. And I mean, it seems to me that gay men, and I'm making, again, a broad generalization, gay men, and traditionally men have higher libidos, the testosterone, it's just unbelievable what it does to your brain. If you get 2 guys with high libidos, oh my God, it's probably wild. I don't know what that would be like. So, yeah. You are definitely gay, bro, says Upstate. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind if, I don't shy away from my feminine side. I'm very much inclined to say, yes, it could very well be that I'm a bisexual. I just haven't found a guy that I saw that I went, oh my God, who is that? I want to bed him right now. I've never had that feeling stir up inside of me. So even if I am gay, I'm highly closeted because I've never acted it out. Happened? There was a glitch? Am I live? I think I'm live. Let me know. Okay. Gay meant happy before. Yes, indeed. Old maps don't say it's Israel. No, because the state of Israel wasn't there. People called it Syria Palestina, because that's what the Romans called it about 2,000 years ago, or they called it the Holy Land, Terra Sancta, but they didn't call it Israel. That is correct. It used to be Israel. And then when Israel was kicked out, Muslims were there and Christians were there and other people were there, but there was always a Jewish presence from the kingdom of Judah, the remnants of Judah. There was always a Jewish presence in the land of Israel, however small, however tiny. People, did you ever try to go on Grindr or any sort of an app just to see how you would fare in the meat market? So you're not gay, says Brandon. No, I guess I'm not gay, but I don't rule it out. That's what I'm saying. Look, I married my first girlfriend. Obviously, I'm curious about all kinds of other experiences that I could have sexually with other people. I'm a very sexual creature. The thing is, I don't act it out. My woman is my one and only, and I hope that that will stay the case, right? But I'm not going to say that I have no urges. I'm not going to say I have no feelings. I'm not going to say that I'm not stirred up sexually. I'm very sexual. I hope to remain very sexual. It's one of the best things about being a dude. It's one of the best things about testosterone. It's this life force that's just like an ocean in my veins, all right? So I'm going to say, even though it does sometimes cause some trouble, it's a blessed and wonderful thing to be virile. It's a blessed and wonderful thing to wake up with morning wood. Because there will be a time in my life where I won't have a morning erection anymore. That might stop sometime. I don't know. So yeah, let's continue. Bisexual, that would make you an abomination to God. Really, mark my words, even if it's only inside, even if I never act on it, am I an abomination then? Really? Because according to Torah, the only thing that is in that sense an abomination is anal sex between two men. That is what the Torah forbids. The Torah doesn't say who you can and cannot be attracted to. Okay, why don't you cut your hair if you want to be sexual? It's not that I want to be sexual. I am a sexual creature. Aren't we all? Christopher says, I'm not gay, but I don't rule it out. LOL, I hope you never pop up on my feed again. Hey, Christopher, I hope I never pop up on your feed again either. Forgive me. I've insulted your delicate spirit by saying that I'm not gay, but I don't rule it out. No, because what the hell do I know? I just know what I've lived so far. Okay, let's continue. Wait, hold on. The Torah lays out abortion practice, GI says. Really? Where does the Torah lay out abortion practices? You should harness the life force and practice celibacy, says Harvest Moon. Well, Harvest Moon, there is a Nazarite in New York, in Manhattan, who practiced celibacy, who never married, and he thinks that celibacy is the way to go. We disagree on that, but you know what? I think that if I ever will, it would be like what Moses did. What Moses did was he had the wife, he had the kids, and later he became celibate. That I can see myself doing at some point in life. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when, under what circumstances, but look, I'm married with children already. Been married since I'm 20 years old. So I've got 23 years of marriage. I'm not going to be celibate. But maybe in the future, through some set of circumstances, I don't know what, I'm not ruling that out either. I'm not ruling out celibacy in the very same way that I'm not ruling out the fact that I could find a guy sexually attractive. And by the way, people who say that simply having a sexual feeling towards another is a sin and against Torah, maybe it's a sin in the sense that it misses the mark if you're married, maybe your spouse considers it cheating, I don't know, to each his own, but it's not against the Torah to feel feelings. Right? Right. Let's continue. He's in a plane of honesty. If you aren't, it can kill you, says Josh. I don't know what you mean. I don't know if you're talking to someone else or I don't know if you're talking about me. Yeah, I try to be honest. What am I going to do? Am I going to lie? I mean, what can be gained from that? I don't mind sharing a lot of myself. Some people say it's the most horrible thing you can do on the internet and never share personal things about yourself. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to pretend. This is not a persona. This is actually, truly things I feel, things I think, the way that I view things. It's very malleable. I'm open to change, definitely open to change, but I'm not a faker or a pretender either. I stand behind everything I say, and I encourage people to push back against me, challenge me, fact check me, do it properly, change my mind if you want. I'm not here to change your mind, but if you see something I'm saying and you say, That's no good. You shouldn't do this, you should do that. Here's why. I'm open to it. I'm definitely open to it. All right. Let's continue. GI says, you have no proof for your belief in God, nor do I need any proof, because I'm not trying to convince anybody. I have the proof. I received enough proof in my life, all right? Way more than I could ever think. For me, personally, that doesn't apply to any other of the billions of humans, nor does it apply to my kids. I'm not raising them religious. I'm not raising them, with all kinds of things. There are things we keep in the house because it's a house that, that I'm running. But I'm not raising them in religious schools. I'm not going to send them to some yeshiva, right? They see me doing my thing. That is what they know. That is what they get. And I'm not raising them religious, not sending them to any, right? They're not. So yeah, there you go. So I don't need proof for the belief in God. Also, by the way, the Torah has no such commandment. Wait, you know what? I want to take this bun out or the hair tie. The Torah does not tell you to believe anything. The Torah tells you to do. There we go. Okay. Let's continue. Foreskin, bro. Foreskin, says Benzi Bloot. Hey, Benzi Bloot. Okay. Super chat came in from Christopher. Jesus set us all straight 2,000 years ago. Get with the times. Our fleshy feelings are not what's important. I didn't say that's what's important. I said the Torah says it's not against the Torah to feel feelings. Don't put words in my mouth. Also, feelings of the flesh can definitely be important. It has to do with our survival, and it's not by chance that we have an instinct to procreate, and it's not by chance that the first commandment in the Torah is be fruitful and multiply. So if you're a Christian or follower of Jesus, by all means you can think and feel whatever you want, but nobody's going to convince me that kosher sex is not something that is good and well in the eyes of God. And that also means having sexual feelings. But the Torah says, give it the proper time, give it the proper place, do it with the proper person, make it holy, make it sacred, set it apart. Don't be like an animal in the field. Do it right. Okay. Let's continue. Spock literally got millions to bless with potentially curse attached from Star Trek genius, says Josh. I don't know what that means. Incidentally, let's go with the poll. 1,227 votes right now. Bro, pretty much same as it was. The original at 45%. All three of them suck at 34%. The prequels 17% and the sequels 4%. I'm really glad that it's that the sequels are last. Heremitic says, and I have you the response. Go look up the list and quit being a lazy shit. Well, I am a lazy shit, but I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not sure what you mean. Upstate says, what do you think of a penis on an attraction level? I don't know what that means. What do I think of a penis on an attraction level? I think that look, I've been to the mikveh, I've been to the gym, I've been to, I've seen other penises. I can't say I'm attracted to them. They don't take my fancy. But, like Louis C.K., right? Louis C.K. has this bit where he talks about being gay in his 40s or 50s, and he goes, I'm only gay for the best. So I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not attracted to penises. I don't find them attractive inherently, right? I knew that I'm attracted to girls and women from really, really young, truly. Moral of the story, don't be a piece of shit, says David. Hey, David, that's a pretty good moral of many stories. What is kosher sex? Explain. Well, technically speaking, kosher sex would be within the boundaries of marriage. Kosher sex would be sex which is usually, right, with somebody who you're married to, though that doesn't always have to be the case, but for all intents and purposes, someone you are married to, and something where there is consent, and something where you don't humiliate the other person and cause them to feel bad unless that is one of their kinks and they're actually asking you, humiliate me. That's a different story. That's like an aside. But basically speaking, kosher sex is with consent, and within the boundaries of marriage between a couple that is ritually pure, meaning not when she is menstruating or not when she is other halachas that have to do with when sex would not be allowed. That is kosher sex. Rambro, hey Rambro, you are hilarious. I do have my moments, Rambro. I'll give you that. It's been 2 hours. It's been 2 hours. I might say goodbye soon. It's 1:45 a.m. here in Jerusalem. I'm going to keep on going. A quick aside, though, just to say thank you to all of you, those watching now, those watching later. It's such a pleasure to hit live. And, I don't take it for granted that we have these discussions, we have this live stream, and it's raw, and it's real, and it's magical, and it's happening right now through the magic of pixelated screens of zeros and ones. It's beautiful, it's lovely. The lovers, the haters, the views and the subs and the vitriol and I truly do appreciate all the engagement and the encouragement, and those who tell me to kill myself, those who tell me to shave, those who tell me I'm a piece of shit, those who tell me I'm a maniacal, genocidal, homosexual, I don't know what. You're all 100% correct. I am all of those things. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be here with you. I'm going to continue. I don't know for how long, but I will definitely continue. All right. Do you do magic? No, I don't. I don't do magic unless you consider underarm farts to be magic, and I don't. Some would say the miracle of life is magical. I'll go with that. Let's continue. Bro, you're pretty effing cool in my book, says MRZ. Hey, you know what? I have my moments. Definitely have my moments. Hail God. Dark Soul Gaming says, Hail God, please shout out my name, Radhe Krishna G. Hail God, please shout out my name. All right, shout out to you, Radhe Krishna G. Hail God. I mean, Krishna, I know, is one of the avatars of Shiva, right? Am I mistaken? I might be mistaken. Am I mistaken? People, Hindus, correct me if I'm wrong. All right, let's continue. Are you a gamer? No, I'm not a gamer. The last thing I played regularly is probably something with my kids on the PlayStation like years ago, but no. No. Don't be all that, just be good, says the common tiger. Huh. Don't be all that, just be good. To be good, that's something to aspire to. I agree. Some guy says, is there a large homeless community in Jerusalem? Not large. I don't think it's large, but it is there. I don't know. I don't think it's large. Anthony says, Anonymous says, do you think it's fair that you can only be Jewish if your mother is? Wrong, you can convert. But no, it used to be that it went through the father. After the time of the return from Babylon to Zion, it has gone through the mother. Halachically speaking, rabbinically speaking, it goes through the mother. The ones who are from the father are called Zera Yisrael, the seed of Israel, even though they are not halachic Jews. So they would need to convert. So I don't think it's fair or not fair. If you want to be a Jew, you can be a Jew. You just need to convert. That's it. Are you a big coffee drinker? You seem to have a lot of energy. I drink 1 cup of coffee in the morning, about an hour after I wake up. Maybe, depending on the nature of the day, I will have a small cup later towards evening. But energy, I have a lot of energy, Bruce, because I'm doing this. This enlivens me, and it nourishes me, and it strengthens me, and it gives me energy, because I really feel the energy of the live stream, of the dialogue, of the conversation. And so it's very, very, and I mean, I drink more tea than coffee on the whole. Should I finish it? I'll finish it, and then I think I might say goodbye. That was really great. I love that cup of tea. Okay. I am going to say goodbye. People, this has been so great. Be blessed. Be a blessing. Be the light in other people's lives. God willing, I will see you on the next live stream, hopefully tomorrow, but who knows. And I'm so happy that no incoming missile alert interrupted this chat, this fine little stream we were having. I will see you next time on this live stream where the wonders never cease. I will be up, I guess, for another 10 or 20 minutes. If you have something to say in the comments, do leave a comment. And again, if you were in the chat and I missed what you said, I didn't intentionally ignore you. I didn't filter you out. I didn't, I don't know what. Leave a comment. I address every single comment that is addressed to me. So be sure to do that. If I missed you in the chat, I apologize. Don't think that I did it on purpose. So until then, God bless. Have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good Shabbos. A good new week. Let's make it happen, people. Goodbye from Jerusalem. Peace.